Hey YouTube, it's Aiden. I gotta say the thing about the lesson in case this is the first video you're watching this series. There's a link in the description if you want to listen with me. Otherwise, let's talk about the NAMM Report 2020 on to the manufacturer Atoms. If you don't know who they are, they're a manufacturer based in the Netherlands that makes a whole bunch of stuff, primarily known for euphoniums and tubas. They also make mallet instruments and marching brass. In the last couple years, stiff. They've started making trombones. They've made large tenor trombones for like maybe 3 years, maybe longer, I'm not sure. They just started making bass trombones. So large tenor trombones from Atoms are surprisingly good. Not that they're good, but that they're so good for the price. They're just like really insanely cheap for some reason, even though they're really well made. They use all seamed construction for all the tapered parts, which is highly unlikely at this price point. And they like use real good valves. They use Schmidt valves and they use Hagman valves, and they have all these different options. Good slides. It's weird. I don't know. I just don't get it. They're really cheap. If you get like a tenor with just like yellow bell and a Schmidt valve, it's only $3,600. And even the Hagman horn is like $4,200 or something like that. Just crazy cheap. And the Hagman, they had like 4 different trombones there, and they had one with a Hagman and a yellow bell, and it was one of the best large tenors on the whole floor. It was like in my top 3. It was so good, super even, great sound, just instant response. It played loud well, played soft well, every range worked. I don't know. I was really digging it, and so were some other like really good trombonists. They're like, what is this brand and why do we not know about them? They had some other stuff like a sterling silver bell, large tenor that I didn't really dig. Just kind of felt dead a little bit. Maybe the sterling silver is a little too thick. I'm really used to my 3B, which is sterling silver, but that doesn't feel dead. So I don't know, something about it maybe wasn't quite right. Anyway, that horn was really good, and if you want a large bore tenor at just like the lowest price for a new horn that you can almost get, Atoms is a good choice. They also just started making bass trombones. I keep pointing at the screen. You guys can't see the screen, but I have to do something. They just started making bass trombones. There's only like 5 out in the wild that are being played in orchestras, and then they had the one at this show, which is the 6th one they've made. So not a lot of them out there, and they're a brand new thing. And I didn't really like it. Had dual Hagmans, dual bore slide. It looked like an Edwards size tuning slide. The fittings kind of looked Edwards-ish. And the size at the bell receiver for the tuning slide looks Edwards size, which is large. And then the bell was a heavy yellow 10.5-inch bell. It's kind of like everything I don't like in a trombone. So I just didn't dig it. Maybe Europeans like that style more. I think they really do. It's kind of a more broad sound with a little less core maybe. I'm not sure. I just didn't like it. So hopefully they make some other options in the future. Moving on to Shires, who had just a ton of stuff because they're owned by Eastman now. Oh, man, sorry guys, this is tight. They just had trombones and trombones and trombones and tubas and trumpets, stuff everywhere. The Q series, which is their instruments, where they make the parts in Hopedale, Massachusetts, and they ship all the parts to China. The parts are assembled into trombones, and then they're shipped back to Shires, where they are QC'd, quality checked, and then sent off to stores and stuff. Yes, this is actually cheaper than having just people in the US put them together. That's how business works. In any case, they're just weirdly good. I like kind of don't want them to be good because I'm not super cool with them outsourcing labor like this. And I expect them to be worse. Like the Eastman Shires of the past, which were pretty awful instruments. Those were completely made in China, just altogether. They were not great, and they fell apart after like a year. They were just not good. These are just kind of strangely good. I'm not sure how what the word is on like longevity, how long they last, if they stay together. But they're like every Q series that I picked up at NAMM this year and last year actually, I would pick up and play and be like, is this a Q series or is this the real thing? And if it does that, then they're doing something right. And especially there was one horn with a gold 9.5 bell rotors, and I think they only have a single bore slide for the basses. That was just so good. I would easily just have that as a backup, if not my main instrument. Just easy to play. I like the sound. It doesn't feel like it's built badly. There's a lot of Chinese horns you pick up and you're just like, you're like, this wasn't built very well. Even if it plays well, it doesn't feel good in the hands. And these just kind of felt like Shires. So whatever that means. They also had the new Shires Alessi trombone since he moved to Shires from Edwards. I liked it, I guess. I don't know. I like the T396, which is his previous instrument at Edwards. I like this one too. I don't know. I'd have to have more time on it. I didn't play it a whole lot. It seemed pretty... it seemed a lot more Edwards-y than Shires-y in the grand scheme of things. So, I don't know. He likes how that last horn played, and he didn't change a whole lot going to Shires other than it's made by Shires. They also have a Q version of that instrument, which obviously is made in China. And I thought it played pretty darn well. It was very different, though, than the real Shires one. So, like different material choices. There's a different valve on it. Just kind of strangely different. I liked both, but I didn't think they were similar in a ton of ways, other than they both have Alessi's name on them. The Colin Williams model trombone has like the dual bore valve. These are tenor trombones. It has like yellow bell and stuff. Whatever. He plays associate principal in New York. Phil, I didn't like it at all. It felt really tight. I think it had a sterling silver lead pipe. And those are usually longer. And I think that was making it feel just like really kind of too centered. I didn't like it at all. I played a little bit and I was just like, ugh. Everything else felt better. So, might have just been that horn at the show, not sure. And then the best trombone at the entire show of all the trombones that I played was, drumroll, the Shires George Curran model bass trombone. If you look it up, the George Curran model is not anything crazy. This one had a 2 lead pipe in it. Cool, I have one of those too. Had a dual bore slide. I have the same slide. It has lightweight axials, which are just normal axial load valves, but the tuning slides have less tube. So when you pull them out, there's not as much stuff to pull out, which means they weigh less. That's the only thing that's different on lightweight axials. It has a C tuning slide, which is the big one, and then it has a 7 LYW2 or whatever. It's just kind of like the standard yellow bell that everybody uses, with some special annealing treatment, which means they heat treat it a little bit. And it's got his signature on it. So basically, it's like every stock Shires orchestral setup ever, except now they have these lightweight axials. Slight, tiny difference. And it was amazing. I've played horns like this before, and usually I'm like, well, you know, it's all right. It's kind of boring. Valves feel kind of clunky and heavy. It's okay. And this horn felt almost better than any other bass I've ever played my whole life. Like, just ultimately even. Over every single range, the response was the same. It just played. Every note just flew out of the horn. Harianos, the high excerpt for bass trombone, that goes up to high B, was just cake. It didn't feel like a tenor trombone, but it kind of responded the same. I could play it like a bass, but the notes would just pop out in tune with a great sound all over the instrument. The valves felt so good and perfectly open, not wide open, not too open like my Mileschmitts were. Obviously not the other way, but I could get great valve legato out of them. I could play everything. Valves moved quickly. Slide felt great. I mean, I already have the same slide. I know how that plays. If I had $6,200 or $6,250 plus, you know, tax, and it's an artist model, so it's probably more expensive, I would have bought this at the show. And playing something like this just keeps making me go, why do I keep playing my box when there are trombones like this out there? If my current experiment doesn't work out, that's the direction I'm probably going to go, and hopefully I can find one like that. Interestingly enough, there we go, I can speak. There's another horn with basically the same specs, not an artist model. They have a name for it. It's just like standard bass trombone. There's like a series of letters. That's the same thing. It has like a dual slide, axials, C tuning slide, yellow bell. And it was just okay. It was not anything like this horn. This horn was like next level, easy to play, huge sound, just everything you basically want in an orchestral bass trombone. I wasn't ultra surprised by this, but how much better it was than the other trombones in the show was a little bit surprising. So there's the star of the show. Lastly, we'll hit up the Q series euphoniums. These are brand new instruments. They just came out with these. I think they're using the same tooling as they do for the Eastman euphoniums. Eastman euphoniums, I don't know, they're not that great. These were amazing. Some of the best euphoniums I've ever played. And I've played a crap ton of euphoniums. I mean, I have a really good one. And these were just crazy, easy to play, really weirdly in tune. Like, I just couldn't find any notes that were just out. And you can find notes that are just out on any euphonium. And just really, really well made. Those are kind of scary because they're also a lot cheaper than most euphoniums. So, cool things coming from Shires, I guess. Also, last note, they're going to come out with a Q series Contra in 2020. Interested to see how that ends up. They're not going to come out with a custom series, just a Q. End of this video, on to the next one for more manufacturers.